Hello and welcome back to Women's Wisdom. I'm in conversation today with Pi Wei Lim. Pi Wei is a gorgeous lady I met, we just worked out, 12 years ago in the community that I was living in at the time in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. Pi Wei and her father had moved to Robertson and set up general practice in the small village that we lived in. And I knew something different was afoot when I received an invitation to come to the opening of the doctor's surgery with its art space. It was not something I'd experienced before, and I was intrigued, and I'm so glad I went along and I had the opportunity to meet Pi Wei. I've known her with so many hats on, as the practice manager for the local doctor, as my yoga teacher,
Right, yeah.
and yoga buddy, as one of my very first Reiki students, and also as an avid gardener. So Pi Wei's philosophy on life and drive in life is very much being fueled by her background in primary healthcare, and moving into a rural community has seen her moving into food production in the community and all that can come from that. So I'm not going to say any more about that. I'm going to hand over to Pi Wei so that she can kind of share a bit of her journey from the doctor's surgery to the paddock. So welcome, Pi Wei.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me.
I like that, surgery to paddock.
There's such an interconnection, isn't there, between food and health? It goes both ways. Yeah.
Well, I really liked how it's very rare you hear someone tell a story tell my story, but you put it really well. So I think when I arrived in Robertson, Dad had already been living here, but we had another 4 surgeries down the coast, so very much in providing general practice in a suburban context. And we started another surgery up here in Robertson. And I had actually imported a doctor for that. Yeah. Doctors in Australia are pretty light on the ground. It's kind of like that's just the way it is. So we were able to get another doctor on board from England, and we started the surgery with my father and our lovely was James Botham, Dr. James Botham, at that stage. But I guess it sort of dawned on me as I started the surgery that or started spending more time in Robertson, the rural context that we were working in. So the lovely thing about the surgery, and it was one of the very first things that I did when we opened doors, was to start a garden out the back. So the back of the surgery, actually the waiting room, quite famously looked straight out onto, it was a very typical like Aussie suburban backyard. You just look straight back, there's lawn, one hills hoist and the back of the garage. And that got transformed over time. You remember it, don't you?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. I remember sending my son over to help with some weeding and tidying things up there at one point.
Absolutely. Because you just lived across the lane, so you're pretty close to the surgery.
Absolutely.
And I guess after that, we just got going in a small country town. And yes, we do have an art gallery at the front of surgery. So when you walk into the surgery, you won't see, it is like walking into a gallery space. You'll have reception, but then you actually won't see people in the waiting room. You have to go further into the surgery to find the waiting room. And, subsequent renovations after that has made it even a bit more of a corridor where there will be other doctors' rooms and allied health worker rooms. And what I kind of quite like is that when you reach the end of the corridor, we actually have a palliative, sort of a, I don't want to call it palliative care, it's end of life care services. So there's provision of, I guess, I don't know, a place to meditate. One of our doctors runs some meditation there, and it's certainly a place that you can go to for a bit of a chat if you've received a significant diagnosis. So the other aspects of what life's all about, and including the end of it. So I kind of think it's cute that it's at the end of the corridor.
Literally at the end of the corridor.
Yeah.
And it was one of the things that really stood out to me. I remember at the opening that, now I can't remember the doctor's name, but you'll be able to fill that gap, that she actually took us through a meditation at the opening. And that was when it dawned on me that there was certainly a new chapter in healthcare opening up in Robertson, that this was something that I'd not experienced in any doctor's surgery anywhere else. The fact that there was actually even an opening was something quite new to me. I was intrigued. But then to sort of have, the meditation there and the art gallery space, I thought there's really something quite holistic in the approach to healthcare in this surgery.
Yeah.
So it was a breath of fresh air, I have to say. It was really lovely to see and have that welcomed into our community, and to know I live just around the corner. Easy access.
Yeah. And having said that, look, that's a choice that's available to any business owner to conduct and to strike up a relationship with their community in whichever way you want to, because certainly that approach to medicine it didn't give us any Medicare benefit. There's not a Medicare. That's just the way we wanted to do business, wanted to present ourselves, wanted to have the quality of relationship we wanted to have with the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and through that, obviously developing your connection with the community, and I have witnessed this happening from a distance, having since left Robertson, is watching you specifically actually developing quite a community around food and food production. So watching the advent of Crop Swap happen via Facebook, and then actually being lucky enough to be there on the odd occasion that I could turn up to Crop Swap and just sort of see what a great community and initiative had built up around backyard gardeners and their crop excess each week, each season, and then to see where that's taken you further on. How would you describe that journey for you? What prompted that to sort of start happening?
Look, that's been a really big learning for me. That started in 2014. So we'd been in the community for quite a while as a surgery, and that's what I was known for. And then, like you, I had this crazy idea, and I went, I'll just do this Crop Swap. That seems so simple. I'll do a Facebook group, have a time and a place, and this is an activity. And the time literally was just for 1 hour. Crop Swap is only an hour thing. And that started in 2014, every Saturday from 9 till 10 outside Rockabella's at the time. So we had a place, and we religiously, we chose from the very early on to have it every Saturday, not every third Saturday, because I was thinking, that's too difficult for people to remember. I'll just show up every Saturday. And I guess consistency, just turning up there, showing up for 1 hour every Saturday. I did that for quite a few years, taught me a lot. In retrospect, I've got a lot of these lessons in retrospect, because at the time, all I knew was the same as everybody else, was that I was showing up at a time and a place. And that is a significant thing.
Yeah.
And people started coming. and it grew and it grew, and there was this sort of festival kind of feeling to it. There was a lot. There was kids, there was animals, there was coffee. There was a diversity of people that were there, and of course there was produce and exchange, and it was a really powerful thing, and it seemed to happen effortlessly. And I believe that when you do something and by some crazy, I don't know, fluke of synchronicity, you touch upon the zeitgeist of the moment, it's the right time for that thing to blossom. And it did for quite a few years. I think consistently, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
It went really well in the way that I knew it, and I think something significant changed when we had to move location.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And look, and since then, I've not been so much at the centre of Crop Swap either. So I learned a lot of lessons about being the founder of something, and also sort of recognising what I can give it without actually me having to be the person giving it every weekend.
Has a life of its own.
Yeah. And so that's sort of where I'm at, because I don't do Crop Swap as much anymore. And of recent times, I have. And look, Crop Swap can be anything. It doesn't have to be the way I saw it for those few years. And certainly lots of people loved it in that manifestation. And now it's changed and it's got a different manifestation. And, you know, it's changing. And I guess for me, that where that's taken the conversation to me, for me, I guess there's a really powerful point there where I was starting to develop more skills in holding conversation and holding space. I was developing my skills there. So, oh God, it was 2017, so 2020, yeah, maybe 3 years ago, I entered into a local leaders course, or program, I would say. The program lasted over 3 months and was sort of the brainchild of various kind of natural resource kind of bodies, like local land services or Great Eastern Rivers, or, you know, those kind of land people. And I can see why they did it. And something that I often say now is, you can't get the land right unless you get the people right. So what these organisations were doing was actually building capacity within the community. Now, I had inadvertently, with Crop Swap, been a sort of a capacity building. I was providing a capacity building service. And so anyway, I did that. And what was it called? It was a local leaders, and it was just sort of developing people who were engaged in community to do it better. Yeah. And which so I start
in small communities is, you know, I know, having lived in Robertson for a long time, you know, there was so many community groups, like an extraordinary number for a very small population. And they were very much in and of themselves. But Crop Swap seemed to have, and this is very much from the outsider's perspective, because I wasn't living in town at the time, it seemed to cross a lot of different, I don't want to use the word barriers, but crossed a lot of, helped them to join together, so that there was lots of different people but coming together with a common thing. So there was community building, there was food, there was tips, there was it wasn't just about growing food either. It was, you know, people would bring the produce back, changed into something else,
Yeah.
and jams and chutneys and firelighters out of tea bags and all of those sorts of, in some ways, old-fashioned ways of utilising resources and bringing them back into the community. So crop swap sort of expanded into like a huge information exchange within that community as well. Does that sound like a fair assessment of what was going on there?
Yes, and so the things that you're saying, now this is what I'm meant at the beginning, is that crop swap hit on a particular, there was a synchronous moment where crop swap came and blossomed with the zeitgeist of the moment, and the things that you're talking about is, you know, diversity of people coming, a feeling of acceptance, that anyone, you know, could enter into this space. There was an emergence of new things, like primary produce was being brought and it was being taken away, value added and brought in. So more ideas and activities were generating out of this. So there was an emergence from here. Now I'm using some language here that I wouldn't have used prior to this, because all that stuff, yes, it's like a gift, but also I feel like my journey after that is that I can recognize it's a gift, and also that if you want it, it's not a gift that's just there. You have to kind of nurture it. You have to recognize it and say, I recognize diversity. I value diversity. How can I continue to support and encourage the diversity I see in this group? Right? You don't just go, oh, diversity's there, that's wonderful. Yeah. Continue. It won't. It'll have its own trajectory. Yeah. And if you don't take it and go, oh yeah, that's good, I want to support you, I want you to keep coming, then it may not stay that way, you know. So there's a part for us to play in this. There's a part for us as leaders in our community, as community catalysts, to hold this, you know. So that's where I'm at with my thinkings around crop swap and any other kind of things, that any other community projects or events, I guess.
Because it feels really, again, what you've learned and what you have now to offer feels really relevant right now, given that whilst we're, you know, many of us are in self-isolation and things are closing down and the communities are needing to come together on a local basis. We've been very global, we've been very spread out for a long time, and the value of local connection and local community and local support and local product and produce feels more at the forefront now because of our current circumstances. So people are going to be looking to ways that they can work that now, given that there's limitations because of contact and those sorts of things. But certainly we're going to come out the other end of this at some point, and people have actually woken up to the value of what you've experienced and what you've nurtured over the last few years. So what's something that, or even a few pointers that you might bring to people's awareness if they're thinking or have an idea that they want to act on when they come out of this? What are some pointers and things that would perhaps help them better understand what they're stepping into, and therefore how to really bring about what it is that they might be looking to do? That's a big question, I know, so break it down as much as you need to, but that's kind of the thought process I've got going there. Because you've already said nurturing what you recognise and value, but I guess perhaps start with what actually prompted you to act on the idea of crop swap. What was it? It was a good idea, but people have good ideas every day and a lot of the time won't act on them. what was it that prompted you to actually act on your idea of crop swap and then have the ability to nurture it to something else?
Look, the initial spark, I think it was in a way dumb luck. I don't know. Then there's some kind of saying about, you know, when an idea has come, it's like this irrepressible force. I just happened to be the door it passed through, and so, you know, I'm grateful for that. That was a gift. So I'm more wary of associating myself with crop swap. Like, I'm so great. It's like, yeah. I think I was just kind of lucky, yeah. But I mean, someone had to do it. So I somehow was a conduit there. But I think where the skill is, and this is really where my learnings are, is that I can, I'm much more aware of what to look for. I don't let it just slip by, and I don't take things for granted. I don't take a really vibrant and sparky community around crop swappers. That's just wonderful. Look, I did that. It's not that. I'm much more likely to look at it and go, well, why is it like this?
Yeah.
Why isn't it a dour and cranky gathering of people? Because it could be that too.
Yeah.
And I'm more likely to ask why, and I'm more likely, you know, I don't take it for granted as much. I mean, just, you know, the reason why we're having our conversation now and not an hour earlier is that I had some trouble with this council sewage thing in the back of my house, and this is the second time I've had workmen here. The first set of 3 workmen were a dour bunch. They almost punched each other out while they were at my place. They were like, you know, another word out of you and more, and you know, they essentially had to do the same thing. They had to, you know, inspect this and do that, and they did the same troubleshooting things. Now, this group was a lot more friendly. They were like, you know, just a really happy little crew of people making little jokes. They had nicknames for each other, you know. I think that they're not just the way, you know, sometimes we feel like we're out of control. Like, you know, I work with these dickheads, can't help it. Well, you could maybe a little bit. Yeah. You know, I've got a great crew of people. Just because you're lucky? Well, actually, no, you do some good things there. You each one of you add something to make it that way. I mean, I'm not saying you're not in control of everything, but, you know, I'm less likely to just take it for granted.
There's appreciation seems to really come through there, that you appreciate the good qualities and the strong points and look at how to enhance and sustain those, rather than looking at what everybody's doing wrong or what annoys you or who's a pain in the butt and how do you minimise that. You rather, it's your focus. It's where you put your focus.
Yeah, I mean, but just getting back to your questions, I mean, rather than, because I was thinking, I do like tips sometimes, but I don't know if I can actually get.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Tips, but I was thinking about your first. I mean, in the notes that you gave me earlier, and I thought, just something to say about the time we're in. And maybe these are my tips, and maybe it's how the question presents to me, but I feel there is something special about this time. Like, I don't want to sort of swipe it off going, oh, well, right, just carry on as normal. This is a really special time. We're in on the, this is different. This is, it's not This is not normal,
Normal.
not the normal that we've been seen. But things have always been sort of shifting and in disturbance, but now it's happened really quickly.
Yeah.
From drought to fire to hail to a virus to who knows what. I mean, we could. I was just saying to my partner, we could have a was it locusts or something?
Plague.
I know, and we laugh now, but we were laughing about something like this. But I think again, it's back down to this vigilance, like in the small things. That's the lesson, that doing a silly community crop swap. It's something small and benign, but it taught me lessons about paying attention.
There's so much opportunity right now. There's actually, with all this shutdown, because we can't continue to operate as we would normally, the potential to do something else is huge.
Yeah, yes.
So there's sort of there's an opportunity to see something within the potential of what's happening right now. And that's not in a graspy kind of commercialized kind of way. That's not what I mean, to sort of capitalize on what's going on, but certainly with ideas and ways that communities can come together, ways that are more sustainable, things that are more nurturing of both human and planet. There's opportunity here, and it's going to take people's awareness and willingness to step in and do that.
Yes.
Because well, hopefully we don't get another kick in the butt like this one, but you don't know. It might be a plague next, and you don't know. So it's I guess your experience of having witnessed an opportunity, stepped into it, done it, learnt something from it, and being in that position now of kind of going, I know this feeling, I know this space, this energy of what we're in, and stepping forward. So I think there's wisdom within you that you probably don't even realise that you which is why it's hard to articulate tips, and that's probably a bad word, but if you were to sit in conversation with somebody who's just I guess perhaps in that open space, they're seeing that there's potential here, and they're in a space of being open to learn and open to being aware. What's something that you might feel compelled to bring into the conversation?
I'd say that be very alert to your senses. Just really recognize how you're feeling. It's a really, really, really important thing. It's right now, as we enter uncharted waters, into every day is something we've never experienced before. We're like new babes. Like, we don't, what is this world? We have nothing to reference. So I can't go in with all my adult experience and knowledge. That's kind of been proven redundant. So to pare that back, there's a deeper knowing. There's this sensory knowing, like see for the first time, hear for the first time. Your senses right now, and I guess maybe I'm sounding like the yoga teacher now, but your senses right now are so valuable. And talk to people about, tell your children, or tell your partner, tell your friend how you're feeling, what you sensed today. Because sometimes just that even speaking it gives you a little bit more distance and perspective.
Mm.
And as we share what we're sensing, and as we sense into the next day, into this new future, as a community, as a group of people, it's like I don't have all the senses. All our senses are but many dimensions of a more fuller knowing. And this is the time for us to join together as a community. And I'm not geographical community, a global community, the community of humans.
Yeah.
And really join together and say, yeah, this is what I sense. How do I put this puzzle together with what you're sensing and what this person's sensing? It's not like, oh, my sense is right, your sense is wrong.
Yeah.
It's like you see things I don't because of your unique set of experiences and knowing. And that really, we have to connect with each other rather than connect with this diversity and accept this diversity rather than saying, oh, you feel something different to me. It's not the same. It's wrong. Or it's against mine. Or you endanger my truth. No, you're just another dimension of that. I think that's a really important thing that's arising in me now.
Mm. Yeah, and I really hear you on that. It's sort of, we've gotten so used to living in a world of competition and fear that to actually come into cooperation and sharing and, it's very trotted out and trite now, but to come into that space of love, because obviously the opposite of love is fear. So if we've been in fear and competition, we're moving into cooperation and love, and that feels different. It has a different energy, but it also, one is accepting and one is you're this and I'm this.
Yeah.
And they're fighting off each other and feeding off each other in that way, but remaining competitive. Whereas this new way, we've got the opportunity. And that's one of the things that I've seen through this, with the whole current situation. And even since Christmas, is how communities and people are coming together and supporting and being generous and being kind and wanting to help in whatever way they're able to. Some people it's a financial thing, some people it's an emotional thing, some people it's just giving somebody a hug, which you can't do right now, but got to sit on my hands because I can't give you a hug. But that's important, that this being in isolation at the moment is proving to people how important connection and which is thinking in various areas of health has been really, really evident. Sort of my background as a massage therapist, touch is such an important aspect for people's well-being, because people that aren't touched, they're really missing something. It does, so and even as you say, somebody with a heavy diagnosis or prognosis, being able to go somewhere and talk to somebody and connect with somebody to get their swirl of thoughts out of their head, to get some distance from their perspective is really important. And this is really showing up now because we are having to retreat, and people aren't able to be in contact at the level that they're used to. So we're now seeing it's been taken away. So we're now seeing what we had, and what we really need to thrive as a human community. So there's a lot to take from that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was interesting that at the beginning, when this isolation thing was just burgeoning, it's not that long ago, but I was actually in a small community in a sense. I was me and David were at a friend's place. So there are two other adults and their two sons, teenage sons. So we formed a little community on a property.
Yeah. And
we knew we were all safe together. So we were sharing meals and hugging, and we're fine. And that wasn't, and it was sad that we had to leave that community because we knew we couldn't go back.
Yes.
Sounds so dramatic. We can't go back.
Yeah.
it was right at the beginning. It was like either we spoke about it as a group of people, and we knew that once we parted, things would change in such a way that it would make it difficult for us to just come back and just hang out, because it was like I've got to go and get some things or do some business stuff, and like, oh well, no, we can't,
Yeah.
but commute, like when I just hate this term, self-isolation. It's breaking us up into these tiny little atomized bits.
Yeah.
We should be in small little groups.
Yeah. Which, I'm very blessed to be part of my little group here at home, so I still get the cuddles and the hugs and the giggles, and we can kind of go about life as normal. But certainly older people and people who have reason to be concerned. They're elderly or they're immune suppressed or they have underlying health issues, and that's across the age range. It's not just the elderly that they're having to be away from people, and they are actually on their own. They're on their own right now, and that's got to be really tough. So we have to really be clever about how we keep them in communication, and thankfully we have technology. But but even people reaching out, and I'm loving seeing groups like the Kindness Pandemic, and people just dropping things off at doorways, and making sure people are aware that somebody's out here thinking of them. So they're all old ways but new ways.
Absolutely. I think for a lot of people, that what is it that there's sort of for certain groups of people, this time has kind of reached their sweet spot. That I think that the introverts are going, yeah, and I actually noticed a lot of my farming friends, they're like, yeah, so what? This is just like normal for us. The fact that like in autumn, everybody's taking their last harvest and they're doing a lot of preserving. Like this is their traditional time. I mean, that's just what happens, So people are stocking up anyway. That's what the farming people, the small farming people are doing.
Yeah.
So they're not desperately running out. Their larder is generally kind of full because they might live a little bit remotely, so they're not ducking in and out of the shops once a week. They are buying bulk goods anyway. So it's kind of like, yeah, this is our normal. It might be your weird, but it's our normal.
Yeah, which is, again, is something I think that the women that I've invited into these conversations tend to have in common, is that we have lived a little more in tune with the rhythms of nature, with a little bit more awareness perhaps for quite a long time now, and it's become a normal thing for us. But so many have lived without that connection to the rhythms of nature, without that connection to the natural world. So to suddenly have to stop and slow down and not have access to this, and look in your fridge and go, well, I've got, a fridge that's this big, I can't stock up, or those that are living week to week and don't have the actual resources to be able to do that anyway. So they're living in survival mode all the time. So this is really threatening now. But there's so many ways that you can address that and come out with a little, a greater sense of calm. So that's where, I see the wisdom in the women that are around me, that, connect in with nature. Look at those rhythms. Yes. There is time of glut, which is now, like in the cycle of things in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
This is glut time. The Northern Hemisphere is coming out of, they're sitting in the lower time. They've probably eaten through their harvest and their stores, and it's coming back into planting and getting back into that rhythm. So when you come back into that, you see everything is cyclical. So I'm sort of seeing your journey as being very representative of that, because you are very connected in with with your nature, with your guerrilla gardening on your verge out there, and your bread
My guerrilla
baking.
garden.
You know, they're very homesteady, homely types of activities, but they are, you know, they're a beautiful thing to be a part of, but they're also vital to survival on whatever scale you're doing it on. They're a part of you, vital to survival. So, you know, I think there's probably more conversation that we can have around that, and just actually share the fact that this is possible, that this is, you know, this is how you can live this life, and this is what you can bring without necessarily having to offer the tips and all the bits and pieces, and your wisdom comes through quite naturally anyway. It's all there. So I'm thinking, I'm getting the feeling from these last few conversations I've had this week that this might be a bit more of an ongoing thing, because there's so much information that everybody brings, and I think, you know, there's more in your store of wealth that could come forward, and I think it comes from all areas. So your yogic background, you know, you said you spoke like a yoga teacher for a bit there, and I went, there's nothing wrong with that, because that, again, that's connecting into this unit, this whole, this, you know, and what it needs and what it's saying and how it's working for you today, right this minute. How is it feeling today? Because it's different to yesterday and tomorrow.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's tuning in and paying attention, and you know, you've brought that to light through your comments today. Tune in, be aware, pay attention, listen.
That's my tip.
Tip. See, you didn't know it was coming. But yeah, it's you know, I certainly remember from one of the things that I have carried with me, because I haven't been in one of your yoga classes now for probably 6 or 7 years. And the way you helped to just fine tune in the smallest of ways postures that I had been doing for years, and I suddenly went, oh, that's why it's even a posture. I'd just been not getting the full benefit because no one had actually tweaked me in that very specific way that you had. And I remember another class turning up and going, I am so done. I don't even know how I made it around the corner to get here. I'm out. I'm exhausted. And you just set me up with props. And I felt like I just lay slumped over a prop for most of the class, even though you moved me a little bit. And at the end of it, it was a totally different, I felt revived, relaxed, but revived. And it's that kind of minute and gentle, and, you know, I listened to my body that I was exhausted, but you showed me what I could do about that.
Yeah, I mean, we need each other. You know, we don't have to do it alone. There's ways we can support each other, and I really think that for me, and it's not something we can just click our fingers and make it happen, but small communities of people. I mean, I live in a small community of Robertson, but even smaller, just you know, people, we were talking recently about just having small street communities. So just make just everyone, and it's got to be geographical. It's got, like, I know we can Skype and Zoom, but there's also this visceral, the realness of having someone who's geographically close to you, and they're just down the road and they can stack your firewood, you know, just something on those real practical activities of daily life. And those kind of things, if you don't put yourself out there, you won't be able to allow the support that is potentially out there for you to help you, and you won't actually feel that beautiful thing it is to offer support to someone and have it received.
Yeah.
And that enlarges your heart, you know. It all of a sudden makes you feel kind of good.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Well, look, you know, if no one ever receives, no one can ever give. So everybody wants to give, but there's actually as vital a role for those who are receiving and accepting as there is for those that are giving.
Yeah. So those small human exchanges are so vital. Just little niceties.
Yeah.
Knocking on the door, just checking if you're okay. Just checking you're not dead yet. You know, I mean, you can say that to some people, just, you know, as a joke.
Yeah, well, you know who you can say that to and who you can't.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, some people don't like someone sort of fawning at their front door going, I'm just checking if you're okay. You know, I mean, you know, just, you don't want to be treated like a victim. It's like, I'm no fucking victim.
Yeah.
But if someone comes up to me and says, look, I'm just checking you're not dead, maybe it's kind of like a little bit of a joke that we can have, you know. It's like you got to read people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think you've got to be able to span across different languaging.
Yeah.
With this.
Yes.
You know, sometimes we spoke, or just how I was saying something earlier, and I was going, you know, I'm not fucking woke.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when we're talking about all these things, I struggle with all these things. You know, when I say, yeah, we need to join with each other in and accept each other's perspectives and allow that to add a dimensionality to us. I mean, that's really challenging. Like, I find that really challenging. You know, when I say, oh, just because someone else got a different perspective than me doesn't mean that it's wrong. Well, hell yeah, I feel like it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I feel that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, I felt like I wanted to do a little, you know, little footnote there, is that, yeah, I find that challenging. Yeah, that gets me angry.
Yeah.
And
but then bringing awareness to the fact that you're triggered or challenged by the way or what somebody has said is then an opportunity for you to sit back and kind of go, but why? Why does it trigger me? Why does it challenge me? Is it because, they're just damn wrong, or I hadn't thought of that and that challenges what I think to be right?
Yep.
And that way you can kind of come at it. You might still disagree with them, even though you've done all that searching. You might just still go, yep, no, still can't come to that point of view, but I accept it. It's yours, and I'm not threatened anymore because I've worked out why it was triggering me. So the feeling of being triggered is actually a good opportunity to sit and bring awareness to the fact that you're triggered, that somebody's pissed you off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, even if you're going to open up that little space rather than just react to that person. But
absolutely. You know. Well, my love, I feel like our time is drawing nigh, so it has been amazing to sit here and have a chat with you. And I could keep going for ages because, you know, it's always fabulous talking to you. So thank you for your time and for what you've brought to us in the conversation. I hope that you've opened up for people out there watching this to, you know, just bring into mind with what's going on now and the opportunity and what they might be able to bring to their little community. Now and going forward. So I don't know, do you have any means for people to contact you if they feel to
Instagram. I'm because in a way Instagram. I'm well, you can find my name, just look my name up, but my handle is Kyron's Garden on Instagram.
All right. I'll put the link to that on the bottom.
And I think I have. I'm Kyron's Garden also on Facebook, actually.
Great.
So because Facebook, I'll do like some articles about food and sustainability and farming and stuff like that. And then Kyron's Garden, I just do pictures of my bread.
Which is fabulous, by the way. All right, well, I'll put those links under the video. So if we've got anybody out there watching today that wants to keep track of what Pi Wei's up to and what she brings to the world and what she's learnt in her journey into a more sustainable lifestyle, I guess, and community, then you'll be able to track her down there. But if you're lucky, we might be able to convince her to come back and have another chat with us another day, and we can continue a conversation. So thanks so much for your time, Pi Wei. It's been wonderful.
Thanks, Pip.
Catch you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.